Welcome to The Passion Pod with your host, Chris Johnson. Thanks for joining us. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the feature presentation.
Season 8, Episode 9.
Welcome back, friends. Today we're sitting in Los Angeles, hanging out in Hollywood, just a couple of blocks away from the boulevard where it's really smelly, but it's not here. Today we're welcoming a guest who, well, he was a dancer before. I guess he still dances, but now he's kind of switched his focus more into photography and being a makeup artist. Honestly, I don't know that much about him, so I'm really excited to hear a whole bunch more. Welcome to the show, Jimmy Love.
Yo, what's up, man? Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming here. And thanks for enjoying a beer with me. Let's cheers with that.
Cheers.
Even though beers aren't really your thing.
But I will say he just taught me something. This whole and cheers thing.
Yeah.
I'm doing that from now on. I might become a beer drinker just for that reason.
That's it. When you cheers, you're supposed to tap the neck of the bottle and then the bottom. That's what I learned when I was over in Scotland. My buddy told me that, come correct, this is how you're supposed to do it. And the sound it makes actually is quite appealing. So anyways, who are you and what are you passionate about?
My name is Jimmy Love, and I am passionate about photography. I'm passionate about makeup. I'm passionate about people, joy. I'm very passionate about life. I'm very passionate about life.
That's the essence of it. So how can people best follow you, like see what you're up to and get a hold of you if they were trying to?
My phone number is, no, I'm just kidding. My social media handle is Jimmy Got Soul. I do have multiple accounts that are not the same username. So my personal is Jimmy Got Soul, and my photography and makeup page is It's a Love Thing with 2 underscores at the end.
That's such a good name. I like that. Why'd you come up with that name? And why'd you do it separately from your own? Just curious.
At the time, I wasn't really sure how I wanted to promote myself, because at the time when I started photography, I was still dancing. I was still promoting dance and doing dance classes. So Jimmy Got Soul, that page was all my dance videos, and I just didn't know what I wanted to be seen as. I didn't know if I wanted people to see me as a photographer or a dancer. So I was like, I think it'd be easier if I created 2 different accounts. So
it was easier until all of a sudden you realized you had to create content for both accounts and check both accounts all the time, right?
My guy. And at this point, I'm like, oh, I'm just using Jimmy Got Soul. I post on It's a Love Thing because it's there, but I'm like, okay, 1 account is good enough for me.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. I struggle with that with my own shop. I'm not actually on my shop's Instagram, like my own business.
Yeah.
I'm not even really on it. I have my employees do it because I can't keep up with that on top of mine. And then people are like, well, you should have a separate one for your artwork. And I'm like, dude, I'm not keeping up with it. Anyways, so where are you from originally? You were telling me off mic. You're from, where'd you say, North Carolina?
Yeah, Fayetteville, North Carolina.
How big of a city is that?
Small.
Like what's small? Because my Eau Claire, where I'm from, Eau Claire is the name of the city. It's 90 miles east of Minneapolis. There's like 67,000 or some people, something like that. How big is it in comparison to that?
Honestly, I couldn't give you an exact number. I couldn't give you an exact number, but Fayetteville is pretty tight. Everybody knows.
Sure.
Everybody the same. There's your local spots that you go to. It's a very small.
Sure.
Kind of into like.
Everyone knows each other.
Yeah, it's
cool.
Very homey. Fayetteville, the city is just very homey. You go to the one grocery store, you go to that farmer's market, you go to that place to get your catfish. It's very much so like a very small city that has its way, you know?
Sure. You see, the way you talk about it, you obviously have like a strong heart for this place, which is really cool. I think when people are from a smaller area, you like have so much more of an attachment because you feel like you're really a part of the city. You know, maybe it's just because you're a bigger percentage. If you look at like 1 out of 60,000 versus 1 out of 30 million, you know what I mean? It's like you have like some kind of attachment to it. That's how I feel about my city. Like I've moved around and I've been all over the place. Like I've traveled a lot. I love my city so much, and I'm like never leaving. I'll be there. Well, at the very least, I'll be there till my kids graduate high school. So I got some years to go. So when did dance kind of, because you've transitioned now a little bit out of it, and I do want to talk about that because I think that's really interesting. But originally, the way we were able to connect was from alumni Marcus Shields. He was on the show, right? Which I met him through Miles Hass, who you also know. And then I interviewed James Barmore, who you also know. So we got the whole squad here. But anyways, when did you actually get into dance? Like when did that first start?
I got into dance when I was a junior in high school. I took My first dance class, I was always a mover. I always did social dancing. You know, when jerk was big, we did the Dougie. We was jerking out in the street with my brother and his friends. So dancing has always been a thing, but professionally and wanted to make it serious was a junior in high school. I took my first dance class at this dance studio called Barton & Williams right down the street from my high school. I could walk there if I wanted to, which sometimes I did. But it was right down the street. My girlfriend at the time, she was dancing there. And that's how I got introduced to the studio, because she's been dancing with them for a while. And so one day, I think they had an open class, and she invited me, and I went, and it was cool. Like, it was everything I was hoping for. Like, it was a really cool dance class. The choreography was cool. The dance teacher who taught the class, I still talk to her to this day. Hung out with her last night.
Cool.
She's from Virginia, and she moved out here before I did. So when I got out here, she was, of course, one of the first people I linked up with. But yeah, that was my first dance class. And then from there I kept going. I did join the studio. I did competition for 2 years. And then yeah, it was a very short season.
I was gonna say, you made that like fast. I talked to a lot of people that have done dance. A lot of people out in this world, specifically like models and different people, have like done dance. And a lot of the people I've talked to started when they're like 3-4 years old.
Yes.
Do you think because it's such a female dominated industry, do you think that's part of the reason you were able to kind of like climb up in a shorter period of time? Because there's not that many male dancers in comparison to women, I feel like, or maybe I'm totally wrong.
No, you're right. There are not. I think at the studio that I went to, there were 2 male dancers. It was me and then another guy. We were the only 2 dancers on our team. I think the only 2 male dancers in the whole studio in general. But I think definitely like just dance isn't really something that, they push men to do.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just like it's a unique thing, right? It's like there's the upside and the downside. There's the upside of like there's less competition than out there, for you to have to compete against because there's less people doing it.
Yeah.
But there's also like less support system around it because it's such a like, what do you mean you're dancing?
Yeah.
Like, guys don't dance, right?
Yeah.
Did you have that kind of be an obstacle for you? Did you have family or anyone else kind of like asking you what in the world you're doing?
No, luckily, not in that light. It wasn't it wasn't coming from you're a dude, what are you doing? Like, you don't dance. It was more so not really seeing dance as a career.
Right.
That's what it was more so being. But the idea of me being a dude that could dance, that was nothing, because not gonna lie, I was fine.
Yeah, I believe it.
I was pretty nice. I look back on old videos and I'm like, I needed some work, but at the time, I was getting down.
I feel like a lot of it comes from the energy, right? It's like that presence, and like it's obvious you have this energy about yourself that like people want to watch. Like people want to pay attention to what you're doing. It's the same way with James Parmore. It's the same way with Marcus. Like you guys all have this like energy about yourselves. It's like really contagious. It's really awesome.
Thank you, man.
When you moved, so you only danced for a couple of years, and then you moved to LA when you were only 18, you said, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me the story about that. Did you like have some homies lined up where you slept in their closet or slept on a couch? Do you have a job lined up? Did you come out here with like 10,000 and just chilled for a minute? Like what happened?
All of it, man. This story is so long, so I'm going to try and
summarize.
Put it in a nutshell. Yeah, so it all really did start with taking class at that studio, Barton & Williams. I got really close to the dance teacher. We were in communication, and it was just steps. There were 3 women that really encouraged in different ways me to move to LA. It started with Ivy just being introduced. Her name is Ivy. It started with her being introduced to dance and like, wow, I really love this. I loved her class. I loved how she pushed me when I was taking her class, made me really feel like I was good, made me really feel like I could do this. And even when we were talking about her moving to LA and the possibility that I would move to LA as well, it wasn't knocked down. It was very much so encouraged. So that was kind of step 1. Then I had this mentor at the time, and she said one thing. There was a point in time where I really wanted to be a singer, and I was doing everything I could, not everything I could, just just singing. I just really wanted to be a singer. I did drama all 4 years of my high school career. Like, I wanted to live that life. So she said to me one day that you would make it further as a dancer than a singer. And at the time, being young, I took the advice and ran with it. But looking back on it, I was like, dang, that was kind of hurtful. Like, but anyway, that's besides the point. But she said that to me, and it shifted in my mind. Dance is what I need to do. And then the third lady was my drama teacher, Miss Cook. We always were in communication, and my pops was really big about joining the military. I did JROTC all 4 years of my high school career because he made that happen. Okay, sure. So, but I knew military wasn't what I wanted to do. I'm not a military kid. I'm not a 9-to-5 kid. I'm not any of that. So I just was very stuck, and I did not know what to do. And my drama teacher, her words were, and it was like the gates of heaven open. She said, "You might just have to go to California and hustle." And when I say those words sent me off and propelled me like a rocket, when she said that, that's all I saw. Go to California and hustle. So when I moved here, that's all I kept telling myself, come to California and hustle. So when I kind of mentioned to you, like, you know, you come to California, it is rough and you hit rock bottom, that was okay with me because I know what hustling looks like. I didn't really know what hustling looks like, but I know I have an idea, and I was down to hustle, you know what I'm saying? So that was kind of the backstory on what moved me here, what got me out here, I would say. Encouraged those 3 moments that really just encouraged me to come out here and live this life. But after I graduated high school, let me take a step back. So I was in high school, not gonna lie, I was kind of a cool kid. Maybe not. I wasn't a cool kid. I just got along with everybody. I'm a peacemaker. So I kind of got along with everybody. I was my high school prom king my senior year, you know?
Yeah.
I was a prom king. So, and I was my high school mascot. And
oh, wild.
Like, they really appreciated what I did as a mascot.
Yeah.
I think I was the first mascot in a long time that got in the suit and was doing flips and was dancing down, like, you know, having a good time in this big old Wolverine suit. So they really appreciated that. So when I graduated high school, they gave me a scholarship. I believe it was $1,000 scholarship, and to do whatever I want. It was $1,000. Yeah.
Cool.
They gave me $1,000, and at the time, I thought that was going to be everything I needed to move out here. I thought that was everything. Like, I was like, $1,000 to go to California? Oh, say less. Like, that's all I need.
Yeah.
You get to California, $1,000 is $1. Man, when I tell you $1,000 gets eaten up in a day here, it's ridiculous. So I come out here on my $1,000 scholarship. I graduated in June. I moved out here in September. And yeah, before I could even blink, that $1,000 was gone because this house that I stayed at, they required this deposit, and it just wiped me out. So that automatically, I came here like, dang, I need money. I need a job because I'm all out now. But yeah, I feel like that's how I kind of got to California. That was kind of that's how I got here. And then for a while, that's how California was. It was this introduction. I was like, okay, we going in. Like, California's introduction was pretty hard.
Yeah, well, I mean, and we're going to get into where all of a sudden things start to get better, because it sounds like you went from being king of the world, aka prom king, to all of a sudden nothing.
Yeah.
And then we eventually built back up to where we are today. So we'll get to that. So you moved out here, you had nothing. $1,000 is gone. You obviously had to get a job. What did you do? I already know that you have like ended up getting some really random jobs and stuff, which is sick. So I can't wait to hear about it. But how did you make it through those first, like, say, 6 months?
My first 6 months out here, my first job was, I worked at Target. Target was one of the closest jobs near where I was living at the time. And so I wanted to make sure that I got a job that was close, because I didn't want to do the Ubers. I didn't want to do the Lyfts because it was just extra money in my mind that was going down the drain. So I was like, okay, let me see if I can find a job that's super close. And so I interviewed for the job. It started off as a holiday position, a seasonal position. And so I got there. I worked there for maybe a couple of months. Not the best job. Did not like it. So I'm very much so that guy. If I'm not happy at my workplace, I will leave. No. I left and I went to Shoe Palace, and Shoe Palace was a great job. I worked there for a year, actually, like a year on the dot. I believe I started Shoe Palace on February 2nd and I left Shoe Palace on February 2nd. Not intentionally, it just kind of happened that way. So I worked there for a year. Super dope place, super dope coworkers. I'm really good friends with one of the girls that I used to work with. but it was a great time. So I think when I was working at Shoe Palace, I had more of a grip on things. Target was still a struggle bus. Target was still, because that was when I was staying at the place I was staying at. It's called Home for Dancers. I was still staying there. But when I worked for Shoe Palace, I believe that was when I was sleeping in my car with my sister. So I think I had money. I was able to keep majority of my money. I didn't have.
You slept
rent.
in your car with your sister.
Yeah, we slept in our cars together.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
She had her own car and I had my car as well. So we had slept in our cars because a very inconvenient situation happened at Home for Dances where we weren't kicked out, but just miscommunication with the lady who ran it. And so we had to end up leaving, slept in our cars for a few months. But my dance teacher from back home, she let me couch hop. Not couch hop. She let me stay with her and her husband for a while. So they were a rock for sure. And then my sister had friends, our church family. She stayed with them for a while. So we definitely went between cars and couch hopping and for a while. So that's when I was working at Shoe Palace.
Dude, but the crazy part is how you skip over the fact that you were homeless.
Yeah.
Like that seems to be such a common thing out here that people have to do for the struggle, but that's nuts, dude.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy that you had to be homeless at all.
Yeah.
Like how did you even shower and stuff? They do that at work? Did you have homies that you could go use their showers and stuff? Did you get a gym membership? Like how'd you even get through all that? Gym membership?
Planet Fitness for $10. Well, $20 because I had to. At first it was $10 and then to bring a guest, which was my sis.
Wow.
I had to upgrade to the $20.
When she moved out here, was she staying at the same place you were before? And then you guys both kind of fell into the car?
Yeah. So I should further explain. Sis is my best friend.
Oh,
I actually met her when I moved out here.
Gotcha.
We both were living in Home for Dancers together. Because there's two separate locations. So when I first moved out here, I was staying at the Hartsick location and she was staying at the Hamlin location. Holidays came around. I moved to the Hamlin location. We met, clicked instantly. That's been my sister. That's been my best friend since we clicked instantly. It was like, yo, where you been? Where you been my whole life? You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, we both got kicked out at the same time. I shouldn't say kicked out. We both left at the same time.
Right.
And we were just kind of there for each other, you know. We both never in a million years would have thought that we would have been homeless, sleeping in our cars in California. But I think us just being there for each other made it easier. Because we have talked about it one time before. She says, if I didn't have you here, I think I would have went back home. And vice versa. I'm not sure if I would have went back home, but I definitely would not have been in a happy place or even just as in a this is okay. Like, this is just a part of it. But having her there kind of allowed me to put my mind in a place of like, okay, this is going to be okay. Like, this is just a part of the process. This is the hustle.
Yeah.
So
if she could do it, I can do it. You had that companionship where it was like, all right, well, we're all in this together to some degree. You don't feel totally alone. You don't feel like a complete failure because somebody you see that you believe in who's working really hard is in the same position, but you know that they're capable of more.
Yeah.
So it's easy to attach yourself to that in a certain way where it's like, okay, we're good. We can make this work.
And it's so funny that you even word it like that because I never even thought about it like, yo, the reason this is cool because my sister's dope. Like, so it's just like, yo, if this is a part of the process for us to get to the promised land, then let's do it. Like, we got this. Like, I got you, you got me, and we're going to get through this because we're meant to be out here. We felt like this was home. At the time, we had a strong church home. We were going to church every Sunday. So that also kept us here, just feeling like this place was home. I think that was the biggest thing, which was a saving grace for me when I moved out here, was finding her. And she went to the church before I did, and finding her and then having a church home that just encouraged you, lifted you up. You know what I'm saying? It was the peace that I needed every week to get through the week of sleeping in my car, get through the week of couch hopping, get through the week of just like, okay, the hustle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, you're a part of something, right?
Yeah.
You had a home here. You didn't feel completely like alone where all of a sudden like, okay, well, my home's back in North Carolina or back in Virginia where like that's the only place you can go to be safe.
Yeah.
You see all these people that care about you that are here and it gives you a reason to want to stick around.
Yeah, for sure.
So when did the first dance job come up then? Because you eventually were dancing full-time as a career, correct? At some point?
I wouldn't say as a career. It was more so I was dancing full-time As a way to get into the industry, I haven't booked many jobs.
Okay.
But my first job was working for the Universal. The title of it was the Universal Dance Awards. It was for Universal Studios, actually, which is funny. I worked on Universal Studios, but it was for that. That was my first like official industry job.
What did you do for that?
It was really cool. So we went to Universal Studios after hours, after it closed, and it was a part of this mentorship for kids who would have this Hollywood experience. So they would do this program, and I believe a part of the program was this job, and we got hired as the professional dancers, and they're the aspiring dancers. So we kind of did this big choreography flash mob almost concept video, and it was really cool. Like, it was a really cool job. And yeah, it's actually a really cool experience, actually.
Yeah, I bet it like helped from that like mentorship side. It gave you some kind of purpose in that way, where it's like you can see these kids benefiting from what you're doing. Gives you a sense of purpose. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm like I was once in y'all's shoes, kind of.
Yeah. Because I get that with my show, and I get that with my shop. Like, I try to be kind of a mentor to a lot of the kids and stuff in the area and help them kind of do whatever, because I see myself in these people. And it's like, when you have some kind of sense of purpose like that, it brings so much more joy and fulfillment to what you do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure. That's why when you asked me earlier, the first question was, what are you passionate about?
Yeah.
It really is people. I really am big on making people feel good.
Which is why you got into photography, I assume, then, right?
Yeah.
To transition into that. So at some point, you must have learned how to do makeup. So at some point, you learned how to do makeup, which kind of goes hand in hand then with taking portraits of people, right?
Yeah, man.
So how did you transition into doing, I mean, from my understanding with your photo work, it's a lot of portrait stuff,
Yeah,
right?
I love it.
You're dressing up people to make them feel the way that they are, really, like make them their genuine, most beautiful version of themselves, and then you're capturing that for them.
Yes.
How did you transition into doing that?
So back to church, my church photographer, I shouldn't say our church photographer, me and him developed a really good relationship, and he let me borrow his backup camera for like months. Like 2 or 3 months. And it's just so funny. Like, I really feel like photography, it's kind of like how you were talking about the Passion Pod, starting a podcast. You know, it's really nothing that you look for. It's kind of like it found you, in a sense. You know, it was just that experience. It was just kind of like it sparked that in you. I don't know what it was about photography, because I did not move out to California thinking I was going to do photography. It was the last thing on my mind. Even though my dad, he takes photos, but photography was nothing I wanted to pursue. So I was really close with my church photographer, and I don't know what conversation we had that even made me want to ask him, or made him want to give me his camera for a couple months and just practice. But somehow I got his camera. I started doing photo shoots, or started taking photos of people. You know, I wasn't out the womb just like, paying for a photo shoot, but I started taking photos of people, and I enjoyed it so much. I enjoyed capturing people at their finest. You know, I enjoyed seeing their reactions of seeing like, oh my gosh, like this is me. I got addicted to that feeling, and like wanting to make people feel and see themselves how others see them, because we are our worst enemy. You know what I'm saying? So
Absolutely.
I love that about photography, is just being able to allow others to see themselves clearly if they cannot, you know what I'm saying? So, but I picked up a camera, I loved it, and it became something that I wanted to create a business. So this was when me and my sister were homeless. We would go to this library during the day. If we didn't have anything to do, we would chill in the library. She is actually the mastermind behind the name It's a Love Thing. This was her idea. We were in the library one day. She was doing her thing, making her website for her dance company. And then I was over here trying to drawing up apparel and just trying to figure out how I wanted to promote It's a Love Thing or this photography company. And I knew I wanted to include my last name. And she was like, how about It's a Love Thing? And I was like, sis, that's the one. And so from that day on, I made that the name. Haven't changed it. Do not plan on changing it at all. and it's just been kind of going. It's honestly, photography has just kept going uphill. It definitely felt like something that I was supposed to do if it really found me. That's how I feel, you know?
Yeah.
It sounds crazy, but
No,
that's how
I think
feel.
so. And a lot of times, honestly, living out here, and I would say this more blanketly across the board for any kind of entrepreneurship or creative field, you kind of have to have multiple streams of revenue. It's really hard when you have because you only get hired for things periodically. People don't need that exact surface literally all the time, right?
Yeah,
They need
man.
it for various different things. So you do this for a little while, but then you can also do some dance stuff, but then you can get a part-time job for 2 months, but then you can go help somebody without, if you're willing to kind of do that and spread yourself around, that's how you make it work. So you want to make people feel beautiful, and you started taking photos using somebody else's camera, and obviously you're gonna have to kind of keep doing multiple things while you're trying to build something up. And photography is a funny one, because I have a lot of friends that are photographers, and I've worked with a lot of them, and I always have to explain to people the unfortunate thing is you have to look at supply and demand, right? And things that people are passionate about, such as photography, anyone can find a photographer to do stuff for them for free. It's just there. It's very possible. All their friends have iPhone 12s or whatever that takes photos that are good enough, in quotations, for what they want to do. So it is just a very oversaturated, difficult market to get into in order to actually get paid. You got to remember when you're getting into it that the only way you're going to get paid is if you're better than the free options that are out there, right? So buying a DSLR does not make you a professional photographer. Just because you think your time's worth $20, $30 an hour doesn't mean it's worth that. I equate it to painting for myself. I'm not paying myself $30 an hour to paint. Certainly not when I started. Just because I bought paintbrushes doesn't mean that my time is worth $20 an hour. My time doing other things is worth more than that. But painting, no. So photography, can you get there? Absolutely. But you have to be willing to be humble and modest and hardworking enough to build a portfolio to set yourself apart, so that way people will pay you to do that. And the beautiful thing about it is whatever you get paid for one job, that's now your going rate, and it's only going to go up.
Yeah.
Once you pay your dues, you can make good money doing it.
Yeah.
But it takes a little while to get to that point, right?
It does.
So what was the first, you were building portfolio, but what was the first job that you got paid for photography? I'm just interested here.
Wow. That is a phenomenal question. My first job that I gave somebody a rate. You think you would know that, but right now I don't know my first photo shoot. I know my first photo shoot, but I do not remember the first one that I charged for.
Isn't that funny how it becomes a slow transition into that?
Yeah.
Before you know it, you've done so much stuff for free and you built so many connections with people that all of a sudden you're getting asked by people to do things.
Yeah.
I've talked to a lot of other people and they've said all of a sudden somebody will ask you, how much is it going to be? Mm-hmm. And you're like, I didn't think about it before.
Yeah.
I've never charged anyone before. What is my rate? I got to
Right.
try to come up with something,
Like Googling other photographers' rates and okay, this is what they're charging. Let me see what I can do,
But going back to what I was just saying about painting, that's really how it was.
Yeah.
So I finally, after all this time painting, got hired to paint that mural I showed you off camera for my city. I painted it downtown in this alleyway, right? For this city project. From there, then I got hired to paint the other mural that I showed you in my friend's store. Mm-hmm. Well, when he asked me how much, I had to come up with a dollar amount, right? And I was like, well, I think it's worth this much per hour and it'll take me approximately this many hours. And when I was all said and done, it was a little bit more if I actually paid out the dollar amount per hour that I was going to charge him for the number of hours, it was a little bit more than I was kind of expecting it to be. Yeah. And I told him that and I was like, it's cool. I want to find a dollar amount we're both comfortable with. So I told him a dollar amount that I thought he would be okay with. And he's like, no problem. Then when I saw him next couple days later, he came to give me cash. He gave me an extra 100 on top of it and was like, no, you're worth that.
Yo.
And I was like, dude, you're the man.
Yeah.
I was like, that made me feel so awesome that you're willing to pay more than what I thought I was valued at.
Yeah, and those are breakthrough moments.
No, it really, really is.
You're like, okay, I just need one person to kind of just notarize, what you know about yourself, but it's like, okay, maybe I'm tripping. The fact that somebody else can see that I'm this good enough. So it's like, okay, if somebody else is willing to pay me this, then this should be my normal, if not more.
Yeah. Well, I'm interested if you struggle with this. A lot of people do. You're familiar with the term imposter syndrome?
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. So imposter syndrome is when you work on something really hard. So you're dancing, you're painting, you're doing photography or whatever, and you don't you don't think you belong there, right? All of a sudden you're at events and you're taking photos of things and you're like, I shouldn't be a part of this crowd. Why am I here? Like, I know I've been working hard, but why am I here?
Yeah.
That's imposter syndrome, is you not thinking you are what everyone else thinks you are, that you don't deserve the recognition that you've gotten yet. A lot of people struggle with it. It's pretty common. But then a lot of people have a moment at some point where all of a sudden it clicks that, no, wait, I do belong here, actually. And so for me, I was doing interviews, right? And I slowly am interviewing more people. And the whole time I'm like, I can't believe I'm the one talking on a mic to people. I can't believe people want to listen to me talk. But this is sick. I'm glad they do. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
And I still it didn't feel right yet. And then I was down in Florida at this kava bar, and the kava tender, basically like a bar, but they don't serve alcohol, whatever, kava drinks. She overheard me talking about my show, and she goes, I have a friend who would be great for you. And people do this to me a lot. They name drop really hard. They're like, I know this person and it'd be great. So what I've now figured out that I do is I put them on the spot and say, oh, really? Cool. So your friend's on Instagram probably then. You should start a group chat right now and ask them. I just put them on the spot. Like, if you really know them, if you're friends with them, start a group chat right now and introduce me.
Yeah.
And people do, which is tight. It's worked out for some pretty cool interviews. So I'll do that to people. So I did. And she pulled up this guy on YouTube, and his name was Wayne Hoffman. And turns out he's one of the biggest illusionists in the world, right? He's done shows all over the world. He's one of the most sought after people. He's been on Ellen DeGeneres and every major TV show, America's Got Talent, all that stuff. And so anyway, she started this group chat with him, and he, within a couple messages, was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. Right. So this is the first person that I really didn't know, but I knew he was really successful. I didn't really have a real connection to him. So I'm driving over there. I was staying like an hour away. I'm on my drive over there, and I got my questions prepared. I watched every interview I've ever done. I've like watched everything. I'm like, okay, I'm ready. Pulling up, and I'm nervous. I'm like, God, I hope I don't mess this one up, because like this could be it. This is the big one. I can't mess this up. And I got there, and I was really expecting to be nervous, and then I just wasn't.
Yeah.
It was so weird. And I like met him, talked to him like it was totally normal, like I'm talking to you, sat down, did the whole interview, and just like had a great time, just like made friends with him, kicked it for a little while afterwards. And I remember driving away from it thinking like, I can just interview people now.
Yeah.
I don't get nervous at all.
Wow. Yeah.
Weird. This is sick. Like, I actually belong. I should be doing this.
Man,
you know what I'm saying?
That sounds so similar to where I'm at right now. Like how I was telling you that I'm getting back into dance, that in a very different way, but still the same theme and still the same effect happened to me very, very much so recently.
Yeah. Let's hear the story.
So when I first moved out here, there was a choreographer that I took constantly. Well, for one, back to imposter syndrome, I live that every day. Didn't even know the term for it, but that's me every day. Like trying to convince myself that like, I guess in simple terms, just I'm good enough. Like I actually should be where I'm at in life now, you know? So, but anyway, so when I first moved out here, there was a choreographer that I always took. Her name was Amari Monster, one of the best choreographers I think I've ever taken from, in my opinion, one of the best out there. And she's so hard. When I first moved out here, I could not pick up her choreography. And so one day recently, like maybe a few weeks ago, she taught class, and I did really good in the class. And I felt really good about, I left the class feeling like, whoa, like I can do this. Like I can actually dance. Like I feel good as a dancer, because before I did not. Like I thought, I left the dance industry because I'm like, dance industry is not looking for me. I booked 2 jobs since I've been out here for 4 to 5 years. So in my mind, I'm like, all right, I'm not meant to do this. But then taking that class was kind of like a full circle moment, because, you know, the class you take when you first move out here, you're not good. And then you take it again, and it's like, wow, I feel this way. And so it was just kind of this in my mind of like, yo, you can actually do this. So it was that moment that I was like, yo, I can actually dance. And now dancing does not feel so intimidating. Like it feels like it's what I am supposed to do almost. Like it feels like I can do this. It feels like
Feels like you arrived.
Yeah.
Right? This journey you've been going towards so long, you finally reached this like this peak you've been climbing. You're there looking at it and you're like,
yes,
I made it?
yeah.
What?
Like, I tell my sister all the time, not all the time. I used to tell my sister this. The way I would imagine myself, I used to feel like a giant trapped in a small box. I used to feel like I'm this big dude, but the box that I'm in is this small. And it's like, and I have wings. Like in my mind, the vision, it's like I feel like I have wings, but I'm not really sure how to spread them. And taking that class, and even now in life, I feel like I've gotten out of the box, and I feel like my wings are like I'm flying. Like, you know what I'm saying? I feel like I finally got a hang of this thing called life. And it's like, all right, I feel good. Like I feel good enough to flap my wings and go into big rooms and still feel comfortable to flap my wings and feel good about what I have to offer, you know?
Yeah, that's the beautiful part as you get older, especially if you're in any kind of creative realm and you've been putting in the work, is things only get easier. You only get more comfortable with who you are over time. It's hard. I think one thing we don't give nearly enough credit for are teenagers. We always, we talk about how lazy they are and how life is so easy and whatever. And we forget that when we were that age, we didn't have an identity. You know how hard it is to go about life without an identity? There's so much pressure on you emotionally to try to figure out who you're supposed to be. I don't think we give kids enough credit for like how difficult that era of their life is. And that goes into young adulthood, right? All the way up until now, all the way up until this point of finally I arrive and I feel comfortable in a room. That's that same feeling. Figuring out who you are, what your identity really is, and then being comfortable with that. Once you can get there, tell you what, a lot of pressure fades away because you can wake up and just be you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. It's like your identity almost is the foundation of what success is, or just even your everyday life. Like identity plays such a big part in it. I mean, we all do just admire people who just body and embrace that essence of just like, yo, this is me and this is what I have to offer, even, and I do it well, just confidently. You know what I'm saying? Like whether everybody don't have to believe in it, and that's okay because it's not going nowhere. Like I just love that energy, and I practice every day to just tap into that type of mentality because, like you said, it's teenagers. It's really hard. Like they're in such a vulnerable place, and it's just like, man, this is a topic that could just go in so many directions. Because as a teenager, you get exposed to so much. You know what I'm saying? And you hear so many voices with social media being such a big thing now. It's like being a teenager is really hard, and I think it gets pushed under the rug on how hard it is because a lot of old school parents or adults, it's like, oh, you're just a kid, and they think, a lot of people push it under the rug because they may have felt like they had it harder when they were kids, and you kind of neglect a teenager saying like, I don't know, like just pushing under the rug a breakup in a teenage life. You're like, oh, you're just a teenager, but you can say that now because you've been through it. But in that time, a breakup for a teenager is a really big deal. Like it plays a really big part.
Well, you're in a different mindset. Think about like the first time that you hear no when you've worked really hard trying to pursue something like dance, right? The first time you hear no is so much more crushing than once you've heard it a bunch of times, right? Because you start to have a better perspective on how this stuff actually works. When you don't have a perspective, it's a lot harder to swallow that pill, right? So that's all I'm saying is I think that's something that we need to cut people a little more slack for. And I'm glad that you're finally at a place now where you can comfortably and confidently be who you are in a room, because I think that is really important. Going back to photography, I'm curious, what was if you have to think of like one individual shoot that stands out to you, maybe one specific photo, but maybe a shoot with a person, what's one that just stands out to you that you're really proud of?
My last photo shoot, not my last photo shoot, but one of the last photo shoots that I was all hands on deck for. I creative directed the shoot, I styled the shoot, and did the makeup for the shoot, and I shot it. And it was one of the first photo shoots in a very long time that I had complete control over. A lot of people come to me normally with an idea of what they want, and I'm kind of the guy that helps steer you in the right direction to create the vision and make it come to life. But this one was my vision. It was kind of I think it was the purest form of what I love to shoot as a photographer, like my style. And I took that to heart, because I think the beauty about photography is you get to see the world from the photographer's eyes. That's the cool thing about photography, is that so many people shoot so many different ways. They shoot so many different things, so many styles. So I always found it important to find my voice as a photographer, and that shoot felt like my voice as a photographer. It's like, this is who It's a Love Thing is. This is what It's a Love Thing does. This is what I want to continue to shoot. And then when I got a lot of love for it, it just made me feel good, because it made me feel seen as a photographer. Yeah. And it made me feel like kind of respected. Like, it's cool when people trust your vision. So yeah, I would say that that photo shoot was definitely one that hit home for me.
You'll have to share that with me so that way I can share it on the socials, especially at the very least when the episode comes out. But that's the thing, is like a lot of times you got to pay your dues, and it's more like you're getting hired to do this one particular part of the job. Yeah. Right. And that's what I was talking to you about. I think it was off mic earlier, but talking about how really when people ask my goals, at least financially, all I say is I want to be financially free to create. Yeah. And that's really what it is, right? Is you don't want things to be in your way dictating how you do your art. Yeah. You want to be able to do it freely, to really express yourself. So when you're in full control like that, to be able to do it, it's very liberating. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's exciting, because it's like, now that you've done it once and it was really successful, people are going to start trusting you to do that more and more and more. Yeah. And that you're going to be able to transition into doing that type of thing all the time. So talking about that moving forward now, kind of what do you expect? How do you expect to be spending your time over the next 3 months, 6 months, year, whatever? Like, you could give your 5-year plan, but just generally speaking, how do you kind of expect to spend your time? Are you going to be full-time just doing photography in that kind of way? Yeah. Or do you want to be doing some dance gigs? Are you still going to have some random side jobs? Or how kind of do you expect to be spending your time?
I definitely want to spend these next few months kind of hustling. I'm in a place where I'm really craving just financial freedom and more of a financial
stability.
Yeah, and I want to build. I think that's really been my focus as of recently. I was talking to my dad the last time I went home, and just the idea of even building a retirement, because as entrepreneurs, we don't have access to like 401k, so we are kind of responsible for building our retirement. So he has me thinking about that, as well as I just want to build my savings. And like you said, I want to be in a financial place where I can drop, I'm not sure how much it would cost, but drop $200 on a studio, $200 on an outfit, to be able to continue to build those visions and continue to make these photo shoots what they are, or what I see them to be, getting the equipment that I need, getting more makeup, getting all of what's necessary, so that I don't have to limit myself, so that when I can't create, I can create. So I'm spending these next few months still doing jobs, but I also work for a dance competition. I was going to say convention, but dance competition. And that takes up a lot of my time.
Is it judging, or what do you do for them?
Well, I was doing photos for them. I was taking photos for them, but this year I'm coming back as an MC. So, bro, sick. I'm stoked. I'm not even going to lie to you.
You'll have the perfect energy for that.
Man, I've been practicing. Yeah. I have been in the mirror, like, I've been practicing this voice. I've been practicing my regular voice. I'm like, which one is it going to do? Which one am I going to do? So I'm just super excited to come back as an MC. But that's going to be taking up a lot of my time. That starts, I think, in January, and we leave every weekend, almost every weekend for the first 6 months of the year. We go from like sometimes Thursday to Monday, and I'm only home from Tuesday to Wednesday. And I do plan on doing shoots those days that I'm back. I still want to create. I still want to keep that river flowing. So, but with that, it does get limited. I can't do as many shoots as I want to. So I'm going to be very, very particular about the shoots that I do when I'm back. But yeah, I plan on hustling, plan on doing that. I want to use this car convention to rack up my savings so that on my next 6 months off, I'll be able to run, and just really
photography full time. Like long term, really? Is that the goal, is photography full time?
That is the goal. I want to get my own studio. I just want to get everything. I love photography, and it's just so crazy how much I do love it. Because again, it just blows my mind that I wasn't looking for photography when I moved out here. So it's just cool on what it has come to now. But that's what happens in life. You find different passions. You find what you really love. I'm still really young, so of course I'm not going to find everything that I love in the time frame that I thought I was going to when I moved out. I was 18, so you don't really know what you want at 18. So yeah, I really want to take photography as far as I can. I want to shoot for Vogue magazine. I want to shoot for Rihanna. I want to do photo shoots with B. Like I want to continue to create art. I want to continue to shoot people. I want them to continue to get excited when they see themselves. So yeah, I want to take that as far as it can go. But it's cool because dance is also starting to pick up, or I feel like even now I'm starting to get recognized as a dancer, which is cool. So I'm not mad at doing dance jobs. I'll take it for the coin, but that money will be going right to photography.
Sure.
So that's definitely the end all, the goal for me.
Yeah. Well, and you're young. You have plenty of time. I interviewed Cameron Davis. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, Cam's Journal on Instagram, but he's a full-time photographer. He does a lot of stuff for like Penthouse and different other magazines. Does a lot of like nude photography, and he's been doing it for a really long time. He's pretty established in that industry. And he made a really good analogy of saying on his episode, it's funny, if you ask somebody, would you go to jail for 10 years if it meant that the rest of your life you would be financially free to do whatever you wanted? A lot of people would say yes. Now, when all of a sudden you say, okay, so that means for 10 years now, I want you to dedicate yourself towards building a craft, all of a sudden they can't look at it the same way. Now, if you dedicated 10 years to photography, all of your ability, like really you gave it everything, you're damn right you'd be shooting for people like Beyonce. You know what I mean? Because you would get to that kind of level where you'd be able to do anything the rest of your life. Yeah. You got to be willing to pay your dues and look at it in that kind of way. Yeah. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, for sure. I get it.
You're going to want to listen to that episode. He's a genius, super smart guy. Okay, awesome. Well, I'm excited to see the photographer or all the photos come out. We should do like a little mini shoot or something one of these times when I'm out here. That could be really fun. Even if we just like set up an iPhone with a tripod or whatever so we can get some cool ones together. We should do some shit. That would be tight. And we're definitely going to the bar tonight, which I'm like super excited about. So that's going to be sick.
I'm like, yo, definitely let me know when y'all get there because that's going to be so hype,
It's going to be tight. We're going to get a
bunch going on a good night too.
Yeah, you said it's like classic night.
Classics night. Yeah. So it's all 2000s, man. The DJ is fire. He's amazing.
We're gonna take at least a bunch of like iPhone behind the scenes stuff for the Instagram to show how fun like this whole thing. Yeah, it's gonna be tight. A couple more questions before we go. I always ask these on every episode because they're my favorite ones. Okay. So
let me get juicy.
So when you do things you're really passionate about for a career, or at least when you're pursuing them, you get to have a lot of really unique experiences, and those are the experiences that make it worth your time. It's when you have these that you're like, okay, this is why I'm doing this, because I'm not making that much money, right? I'm putting all this effort into trying to do this thing, but these are the reasons that I do it. So can you share a story of a unique experience that you had, something you're really grateful for, but it only happened because you chose to pursue your passion for, it could be either dance or for photography in this case?
It only happened because I'm on
this path,
this journey of pursuing, a unique experience that has happened that I'm grateful for because I'm on this journey to pursue. Wow, that's a good question. I have an answer. I have a lot of answers.
That's the crazy part, right? Is you've had a lot of them.
Yeah.
And that's what's exciting about it.
Yeah, no, I do have a lot of moments. It's an open question, but it's not an open question at the same time because I'm not even sure if I can give a certain moment. I'm going to give a very generic answer, but also definitely holds weight. I think the biggest thing about pursuing the life of purpose is who I'm becoming. What? Is that even an answer? Can that be an answer?
Yeah, I think so. It's the excitement of going like, okay, I can see this path and I can see myself growing into this person that I want to be. You know, it's something that like I always equate it to when I opened my skateboard shop. I thought really a big driving factor was my parents split up. My dad had a heart transplant and I had my first kid all in a short period of time. And I was looking at it and I'm like, you know, if I died tomorrow, would I be proud of how I spent my time? Not really. Yeah. I wasn't a bad person, but I didn't do anything that I cared about.
Yeah.
You know, but when you all of a sudden flip it and I'm like, okay, I want to do something I care about. I opened my skateboard shop and I started working towards these things. I can see that growth and I'm actually proud of the way that I've spent my time. I'm proud of how I've affected the people around me. That's important.
Yeah.
And I don't think we don't teach it going back to schools. We don't really teach kids in schools that much that, you know, you should feel strongly about how you spend your time with your career.
Yeah.
That's not something we talk about. We talk about financial stability. You know, it's like, okay, so you can get a college degree, then you can go these different routes. You can get a 401k. That way you'll be able to afford a car and a house and whatever. But we don't talk to them and we don't ask that question of, if you died when you're 25, how would you spend your time? How do you want to be remembered?
Yeah.
We don't talk about that.
Yeah.
Which I feel like we should, right? Because if you don't have some kind of purpose, what's the point?
Yeah. And that's the thing. I just don't think that purpose is taught anymore. You know, it's very much so just, hey, make sure you get this good job. Make sure you can just follow the rule book in order to make it through life. But nobody teaches you how to freaking take life by the neck and like life adjusts to me. I can't think of a better way to say it, but having life adjust to you versus you adjusting to life. You get to create the life that you want to live. And I think that that's what my biggest thing is again, no shade to my family, my pops, nothing like that. But I was only taught one way. You know what I'm saying? I was only taught, like, my lifestyle that I'm doing now, I had to teach myself how to do it. I had to teach myself how to be an entrepreneur, how to manage my money as an entrepreneurship, how to take, you know, just how to operate differently. It's very different than having a 9-to-5. So I'm very big on, we are blessed with this thing called life. What do you want to do with it? There's not one way to live it. And purpose is how I live every day. Like, what's today's purpose? You know, it's an exciting way to live and wake up and I'm like, all right, God, like, what's up today? Like, you gave me another day to live. So what are we doing today? It's a new day. I get a new 24 hours. So what am I going to do to make the most of it? So to go back to your question, little things like this excite me and are moments that make me happy, to make me feel like, I'm really happy to be pursuing purpose. I think that's how you phrase the question. But even last night, between last night and today, I went out last night with my friends and I paid for our first round of drinks. And that's a big deal as an entrepreneur. Like, for me to be able to do that, living a lifestyle that I created, of moving out here to California after I graduated high school at 18 years old. And it's like, I'm at a point in my life where I can pay for my friends' drinks. And then on top of that, my mama hit me up talking about, hey, the phone bill is due. It's $112. And I could pay my phone bill $112 in full. It's just cool to me. And it's a really big deal to me that I am able to do that, creating the life that I want, following purpose. You know what I'm saying? It's just, even though it's very small, it's also, well, for me, it's like, you can do this following purpose. You can do this doing what you love. You can create this lifestyle if you keep working hard for it. You know, I'm like, that's it on a very small scale. And I'm going to keep chasing the big scale. But it's just like little moments like that are big deals to me.
Dude, it's because you built it up from nothing.
From very nothing, much so.
All yourself. You earned it and you put yourself there. Nobody else did it.
Yeah.
You did it. And there's something incredibly gratifying about that you can't really get from anything else. Even if you get a promotion at another job, somebody's recognizing you that you're doing a good job or whatever. You still didn't build it yourself.
Yeah.
So you don't get that same kind of gratification. You don't feel the same way. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because I felt it growing my store. When my shop, for the first time, when I got in the green, when I paid off the debts that I took out to open my shop, I had that feeling. I know exactly what you mean. It's a very special feeling.
Yeah.
One more question I always got to ask, because I think it's important. We learn the fastest from our own mistakes, right? That's the easiest way for us to grow. It's unfortunate when you have to face them, right? It's unfortunate when all of a sudden you have something falling out and you have to live in your car, but it teaches you a lot of things really fast. And that's how you end up getting ahead later in life. That's how you become a more well-rounded person. That's how you build skill sets. I've lost full episodes and things have happened. We had struggles with the things today with cords and stuff, right? Like things like that happen. It's better to happen earlier. Anyways, what I want to ask is, can you share a story of a mistake that you made? Something that taught you something valuable somebody listening might be able to benefit from.
Oh, I'm not sure if this is a mistake or a life lesson, but man, a mistake that I have made was putting other voices louder than my own. Is that a mistake? Or are you talking about career-wise?
No, I know exactly what you mean. Elaborate on it, but I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, is that the direction you want to go? Or you want to go another direction? I'm open.
No. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This is because I've had this happen to me quite a bit, and I actually talked about it on a recording earlier today, where I've found that when people give me advice and I follow that instead of my gut, I'm mad at myself every damn time.
Yeah.
Every time. Because I was right.
Well,
and there was a reason I was right.
Yeah.
And even if I was wrong, I'm not going to learn that lesson unless I make that mistake.
Yeah.
So I have to follow it. You know what I mean? And you follow. And the thing is truthfully, most of these people that give you these, this advice, these voices you're talking about, most of the time they have your best interest at heart. The majority of the time.
They do.
No one's out to get you. I mean, maybe there's somebody out there in competition with you or something, but the vast majority of the time they want to see you succeed. The problem is they don't actually know the answer because they didn't live your life.
Yeah.
You lived your life up until that point. You're the one who has the best perspective on where you really should go. They don't know. You're playing a video game, right? And all of a sudden somebody walks into the room. You've been playing it for hours and hours and hours. They walk into the room and they're like, oh, you should go to the left. And you go, oh, okay, but all this way, everything I've been doing is building me up to believe that it's to the right. But because you've beat a bunch of other video games, I guess I'll take your advice.
Yeah.
You go to the left and it was wrong. You should have gone to the right.
Yeah.
And then you beat yourself up on it because you're like, why didn't I just trust myself?
Yeah.
Right?
All the time, man.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's what you're kind of alluding to.
Yeah. Just the idea, I think just in general, that's very much so. And just the idea of just like, yeah, you pretty much said it all. Trusting your gut, trusting your gut and not really allowing others to even other voices to be a reflection of you, or because it kind of goes back to the imposter syndrome. It's very hard when you live a lifestyle where you don't really see yourself clearly, which is why, again, which is a core of why I love photography so much. Other people's voices seem like the right answer. It's like, oh, well, if I don't trust my own voice, well, then if you telling me, then it's like, oh yeah, you must know exactly what you're talking about. But then you realize, no, you don't. And not that you don't, but it necessarily wasn't the best option for me. You know what I'm saying? And
it's good to have mentors, right? It's just a matter of like, another guest I had, Cashanova, he's a big rapper in my area.
Yeah.
He said randomly on an Instagram story one time, and it's stuck with me ever since. He said, stop listening to other people tell you how to do something that they haven't done.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Again, it's not that they don't want what's best for you, but they haven't done it. They don't actually know.
Yeah.
So you got to take it with a grain of salt. Not saying you have to say, I know everything, my gut's always true, but you need to look to the right people for advice, right? You got to contact somebody that is a mentor to you or something like that can give you a little bit more expert advice and then still trust your gut. I'm not saying don't listen to anybody.
Yeah, no.
But listen to yourself first.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, be confident that you know you want the best for yourself as well. You know, you're not about to throw yourself to rock bottom. So knowing that, just trusting your gut, like, okay, I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm doing. I may need a little direction. Like you said, there's nothing wrong with direction, but not relying on others completely.
Yeah, in the entrepreneurship world, you are the one who has to make it happen. Yeah. That's really all it is. You don't have a boss who you have to like appease for the next, whatever time where you get a raise or potential promotion. You have to make this work. You're the only one who loses if it fails. It's you who loses. So you're the one who has to be fully invested. I don't want you to lose, and I know you're not going to lose. So for everybody listening, now that they've listened to this episode and they're stoked on Jimmy, I don't know if they're out in this area or not, and if they can get photos from you or whatever, but how in general, again, can people follow you, see your stuff, and how can they best support you moving forward?
Again, my social media is Jimmy Got Soul. My photography page is It's a Love Thing, ISSALOVE THING with 2 underscores at the end. And anything from a follow to a like to a share on your story, I take it all. I'm very grateful for it all. So, I appreciate any love that is shown on my photography page. If you like what you see, I definitely would love to just see a little heart, a little notification said that you like the photo. It's enough for me.
Tell you what, I don't know you like it if you don't tell me you like it.
Exactly.
Right? So go and just drop even if it's just silly every single time I post and you just drop a comment of an emoji of a heart. Yeah. That actually still does mean a lot. You know what I mean? Because not that many people actually do that, right?
I get giddy.
That's what I'm saying.
Get so giddy when somebody just put a little acknowledgement, like I saw your photo, and I'm like a little kid in a candy shop. Like, it really feel brand new. I haven't been doing photography for that long, but still to this day, it feels like I just picked it up yesterday.
I'm telling everybody, support your friends, all your friends who are doing creative endeavors that they really care about. Even just the easy thing of dropping a comment or sharing their stuff actually does go a really long way. Well, thanks again for your patience while we had some issues technically that the listener's not really going to see or hear, but still, thank you for sticking with me through it. Thank you for coming out here to Hollywood to my hotel to record this. Thanks to Marcus for connecting us for this. Right. And I'm looking forward to the rest of our dope night.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of The Passion Pod. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. We'll see you soon.